Welcome back to another success story, and this is brought to you by the Barbados Manufacturers Association. Today we're going to meet Joshua Forte of Red Diamond Compost, and you're thinking, yeah, Red Diamond Compost. It has a very unique feature, and Joshua's going to tell us, first of all about the origins of this company. How are you, Joshua?
Hi, I'm doing fine, thanks.
Fantastic. Now, I love the shirt, Grow Beyond Organic.
Thank you.
That sounds super healthy. Does health have anything to do with how this company came into being?
It actually does. Health is where it started for me. So this goes back to 2012, where I was dealing with my own health crisis. I had a very, very terrible case of something called mono. And this, you could imagine sleeping for 10 hours and feeling like you hadn't slept the entire week. Dealing with nausea, chronic fatigue, literally couldn't get out of the house. At this time, I was actually at the university, supposedly studying physics, but I literally couldn't get out and I had to end up withdrawing. So I say it's a series of events, interesting events that led me to starting Red Diamond. So the next phase would have been after progressing to a point where I'm feeling okay, but not necessarily my best self. I just happened to also have a pet iguana.
You just happened to have a pet iguana.
And upon researching how I could grow food for my iguana, because it was just too expensive to purchase all these leafy green vegetables, I came across a guy talking about nutrient-dense foods. And this was something absolutely new to me. Upon further investigation, I started to learn about how our foods are currently grown here in Barbados, but obviously across the world as well. And it was just a very unsustainable practice full of toxic synthetic chemicals that were reducing the levels of nutrition in the food and adding toxicity to the equation. So therefore, our health, even from consuming all these plant-based foods, was not at its best.
So all those salads went for naught, is that what you're saying?
To some degree, yeah. Because those same salads, say 40, 50 years ago, were way more nutritious than they are today. So I started down the rabbit hole of food and nutrition and understanding how the relationship between our bodies and food. And then from there, again, just getting closer and closer to the source, I went on to look at the soil, how our foods was grown. And it was interesting for me to see the similarities between the soil and the human body, especially when it comes to nutrition and the microbiome and these different defenses that we have, we also share with the soil. And it was at that point here in Barbados, there were many reports about the rising cases of NCDs, chronic non-communicable diseases, rising especially amongst our youth. And I had this conviction, more or less, that this solution I was seeking just to solve my own problem was much greater, and there were many other persons that could benefit from it. And that's where I decided I am going to do something about it, and I'm going to start this company called Red Diamond Compost.
So I know that a lot of people have all kinds of feed for plants, for vegetables, fruits, all kinds of vegetation. What makes Red Diamond so unique?
So what makes our products so unique is the primary fact that they're designed to work with nature. They're designed not to just provide nutrients to a plant and you get these results. No, it's a holistic approach where it is looking at every facet of this ecosystem that we've been granted in nature. So our products are designed to feed those beneficial organisms, these microbes you would hear persons talking about that are responsible for building soil structure, cycling nutrients to plants, boosting the plant's natural immune system and making them more resilient against pests, disease, even things like drought and extreme flooding. Plants are more resilient against by their relationship with these beneficial organisms. So our Red Diamond products are pretty much the cleanest and greenest solutions, agricultural solutions, designed to work in tandem with those organisms to feed them, allow them to thrive, and have a stronger relationship with the plants.
It almost sounds like we should be using that in a smoothie or something in the morning, because that sounds very, very useful, especially for the whole ecosystem. But in all seriousness, how challenging was it to come up with, one, a formula, and then two, try to get it to market?
How challenging was it? Well, it took several years, really. starting first with the idea of what we wanted to achieve, which is a product that, again, achieves improve crop productivity, improve soil health, and at the same time not damaging the environment, not damaging pollinating insects or the same beneficial organisms and earthworms and so on in the soil. A truly clean product that is coming from plant-based or animal-based solution, which we would just say organic resources. So having that in mind, how then do we go about achieving that? One of the blessings that I had early on was the mentor that I had, a soil scientist out of Texas, that I reached out to when I saw his facility and what he was doing, which was completely different from anything I had seen before. He was really talking about the science behind the soil and his processes, talking about composting itself, we're looking at like 15 months to 2 years, whereas what was trending was producing stuff in 4 weeks.
Right.
So I looking at even the quality of what he had, it caught my attention, and I said, you know what? I need to know what this guy knows. So I said, I'm going to reach out to him. I don't have anything to lose. I'm going to reach out to him, this guy, across the world, and see, if he would help me. And the same evening, I sent him an email after digging up for his email address. He replied to me and said he's willing to help me any way he can.
Wow.
So he literally started to mentor me, essentially, guiding me along from general gardening topics along the actual sciences of the soil biology and how I could understand the soil and understand the science, what is really happening with the soil, with the plants. And that was the genesis for everything. And it's from that foundation that I was able to then kind of identify how I'm going to approach creating our products. So the early stages was really more about understanding what is actually happening in nature, what's happening in the environment, more so than, product development.
Right. So we're now looking at, however, a finished product. There is something tangible that someone can hold in their hands, that they can do either their little kitchen gardens with or whatever plant and vegetation life. But how do we know, because we talk about standards, how do we know what is in a product and if it meets existing standards?
So there are two ways you can look at that. Now, for one, the integrity of the company is something that needs to be taken into account. And for us, that's something that is very dear to us. And everything that we profess about our Red Diamond products, is definitely there for you to check. But also, in terms of checking the standards, having the testing done, the proper testing done, going to the proper regulatory agencies such as the Barbados National Standards Institute, consulting with them before we actually look to put our formulation out on the market to ensure that what we have not only in the product, but especially what we are explaining to the customers in our labeling is accurate and correct. Having those things in place is pretty much what you go through before you even get to look at creating a label or how you're going to package your product. Right.
But you do have a very attractive looking product.
Thank you.
Great looking label. And from my naked eye, I would say, hey, is it ready for export? The question is it ready for export?
So I would say that's one of the million-dollar questions. And it's something that you kind of have to assess on a case-by-case situation, depending on which territories you're targeting. So there's certain territories, say across the Caribbean, for sure that this product would be ready to enter those markets.
Right.
But when we're looking at, say, the US market or European markets, there's some other standards that we still have to meet, other testings that we still need to have done to be able to get there.
And how difficult of a process is that? It's one thing to say, oh, I have to do this test, but this sounds like it could take a while.
Yeah, it's time and money. I mean, with pretty much everything else, it's time and money and knowing exactly what you need to have done. I would say that's the most important thing, actually having your checklist of, okay, these are the different standards that we actually need to meet, because jumping into the process, not having that sorted out, and then realizing you have to actually go back and get things done is going to draw it out a lot longer. But usually, once you have that checklist, as I said, within the, and if you're really lucky, because sometimes things could get processed much faster. It could be anywhere from, say, a month to 6 months, depending on your particular situation.
Okay. So in this particular situation, is this passed and accredited and ready to use in Barbados at least
Definitely.
first? Fantastic.
Definitely.
So here we have a product locally made, locally produced. It's been locally certified. It's called Red Diamond. Now the $1,000,000 question I'm asking you is, who is this product for?
This product in particular, so this is our Red Diamond Compost Liquid Sunshine Organic Fertilizer. And this is for any commercial farmer, any home gardener, whether you're dealing with fruits, flowering plants, you're dealing with any fruit and vegetables like your tomatoes, your cucumbers. This is the product that we would recommend for them. It is ideal. What we've seen in the trials we've done, the enhancing of the flowering and fruiting of the crops. That's
Right.
the number one thing. We've had persons even using it for their leafy green vegetables. They tell me that it's been enhancing the overall appearance of the leafy greens. But I would say for the most economical use of the product, definitely maximizing your flowering and fruiting of your fruit and crops, your tomatoes, your cucumbers, your melons, your five fingers, your fruit trees would love it. We actually got a jamun tree to start bearing fruit within 3 years. Yeah.
How long would that normally take?
Normally it's about 6 to 8 years.
So you practically got the time and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe even more, depending on how it was going to flower.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of flowering, you still look like a fairly young shoot. How populated is our market right now with things like organic compost?
Organic compost, organic products in the agrochemical sector are the minority. There is, honestly, you can go to a store today and see a 60-foot long aisle, in some of the larger stores, and only about 5 to 10 feet of that length would be the organic solutions.
Wow.
That's literally the makeup. The majority of it is toxic synthetic chemicals though.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what would you attribute that to?
It's primarily the nature of the industry. You have this age-old industry that's been dominating. Petroleum-based fertilizers has been dominating, and that's what they provide to our market. A lot of these same companies that sell these toxic synthetic chemicals here do offer some sort of organic alternative. And I say some sort because what we found in certain trials is that even some products that are labeled as organic still do not necessarily benefit the microorganisms in the soil, but they meet certain regulatory standards.
Right, so you can still label yourself organic if need be. Because I'm thinking that, with a thrust towards, hopefully, a greener world, a greener economy, we have our own goals here in Barbados being set out, that people would be looking more towards what's going into their bodies, more so than before. And everything's not going to come down to, well, it's cheaper. Because health is not cheaper.
That is the truth. That is the truth.
So this particular product would probably appeal to many people. Just first of all, on the look alone. Second of all, in the benefits it can give, especially if the soil can constantly reproduce these things that we want to start growing for ourselves.
Exactly. Creating that regenerative environment. And this is our goal, so that persons, and it may sound strange for persons to hear business speaking like this, but is that within like 50 years, ideally, of our products being able to use it, being used in the environment, that you don't necessarily need them after that, because your soil is at the stage where it can reproduce on its own. That you would have because for us, it is not even just about the products themselves, because we also offer the educational aspect, educating persons about how the soil actually works, and the organics and regenerative agricultural practices, climate smart agricultural practices as well. So allowing people to create that environment where they're truly beyond sustainable, right? Where the soil is continuing to be replenished year after year rather than degrading, which most soils currently are.
So Joshua, how have agencies in Barbados been able to assist you in getting your product to market?
So I've worked with quite a number of agencies here in Barbados, providing mentorship, providing marketing support, various types of technical support. So this would have started with the Caribbean Center of Excellence for Sustainable Livelihoods. They were actually the first one that really recognized us and gave us that opportunity to really develop into what we are today. We would have worked with the youth entrepreneurship scheme. We've worked with BIDC, now Export Barbados, and working with them has allowed us to get even more opportunities and greater recognition regionally and internationally. We've been able to be a part of the Bloom Clean Tech Cluster, which is a partnership between BIDC and UNIDO. We've also worked with the UN and their Blue Economy Accelerator Labs. We have collaborated with the University of the West Indies as well. Moving on, we have, again, with BIDC, been able to participate with our partners, the Caribbean Climate Innovation Center out of Jamaica, and participated in the Climate Launchpad Bootcamp, which we won the competition for Barbados.
Wow.
To advance then to the Netherlands for the Global Grand Finals. And I mean, there have been so many different opportunities that we have had an exposure from the Global Entrepreneurship Summit with the Netherlands and the US back in 2019. In 2021, we actually won the Young America's Business Trust Caribbean Innovation Competition. And this was actually after applying for 4 consecutive years.
Wow.
Just continue to refine and be better. And that's what I kind of use these different opportunities and challenges to continue, refining Red Diamond, seeing where we can improve and making those improvements. And is to great reward that we have now actually won one of the Commonwealth Secretary General's Innovation for Sustainable Development Awards for 2021. And that's something, we're truly proud of and is dear to us. And yeah, it's only looking to what is next.
Yeah, this is shaping up to be a winning product, if you ask me. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And where can people find not only the product, but your organization online for further education about organic compost, such as Red Diamond?
So if you want to reach us, you can go to www.reddiamondcompost.com. There's Red Diamond Compost on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can reach us online pretty much anywhere. You could call us, email us at hello@reddiamondcompost.com. And yeah, we're definitely glad to hear from you. Any questions, any queries, yeah, we're here.
And finally, what would be your dream for not only this, but just the whole movement towards more organic sustenance and nutrient-dense food and produce and all the rest of it?
Our goal is pretty simple. We want every single human person, every single human being on earth to have access to clean, nutrient-rich foods. That's simply it. Ultimately, having the agrochemical industry to become a circular economy and, having a clean and prosperous environment, because we truly are what we eat all the way down to what we put into the food.
I want to thank you so much, Joshua. It has been an edifying experience. I feel healthier for the discussion. And now I'm a lot more curious, literally, about what's in our soil and what's happening with the ecosystem and ultimately what's ending up on our plates.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much for following the success stories being brought to you by the Barbados Manufacturers Association. Keep supporting local, keep supporting our manufacturers, and keep business alive in Barbados.